welcome to this Thanksgiving edition of the Movies Past and Present podcast. This is episode 3 of the podcast, and it's November 20th, 2018. I'm your host, Stanford Clark, and I'm podcasting from the crossroads of the West in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. Just like my blog, moviespastandpresent.com, I'll be providing reviews and commentary about current and classic cinema. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get started. New in theaters this week are 5 films that we'll just be talking about here. First up is an art film called The Favourite, and that's the British spelling, F-A-V-O-U-R-I-T-E. It's from Fox Searchlight Pictures, starring Rachel Weisz, Emma Stone, and Olivia Colman. It is a historical drama. Actually, it looks to me like it's part historical drama and part dark comedy. Guess we'll see what actually happens when I get to see the film. But it's set in the early 18th century in England. England is at war with the French. And Queen Anne is on the throne. Queen Anne is played by Olivia Colman. And she's quite a temperamental woman. But she has a good friend named Lady Sarah, who's played by Rachel Weisz, who's very protective of her, and an ambitious and opportunistic woman named Abigail, who is played by Emma Stone, tries to get in good graces with the Queen. Rachel Weisz looks like she's got some issues with this friendship. So the previews look like it could be a really interesting film. It could go really dark. It's rated R by the Motion Picture Association of America for strong sexual content, nudity, and language. So, anyway, looks like a grown-up film, and we'll see if it's any good. So that's The Favourite, however you say it. Next up is a family film. This is Ralph Breaks the Internet from Walt Disney Animation Studios. It's an animated comedy adventure and a sequel to 2012's animated film from Disney, Wreck-It Ralph. I've actually seen this, and so I'll be talking about it in the review section of the podcast. But Ralph Breaks the Internet is rated PG by the Motion Picture Association of America for some action and rude humor. And I'm excited to talk with you more about that. That's coming up in just a bit. All right. Then there is yet another remake of Robin Hood. And this one is just called Robin Hood. It's from Summit Entertainment, directed by Otto Bathurst. This time we've got Aaron Edgerton as Robin Hood and Jamie Foxx as Little John in some of the strangest casting ever for this particular story that's been filmed a lot. So this cast is actually kind of cool. Well, so as I mentioned, Aaron Edgerton is Robin Hood, Jamie Foxx is Little John, Jamie Dornan is Will Scarlet, Eve Hewson is Maid Marian, and then as one of the big baddies, we've got Ben Mendelsohn as the Sheriff of Nottingham. And it looks that it's just following the same story where Robin and Little John mount an audacious revolt against the corrupt English crown. And so this is one is being touted as a thrilling action adventure packed with gritty battlefield exploits, mind-blowing fight choreography, and a timeless romance. So this, if you've seen the previews for this, the mind-blowing fight choreography look like they've taken a page out of a Guy Ritchie film. And we'll see how it pans out, if it's going to be entertaining or if it's just going to be kind of not. So that's our next version of Robin Hood. That's rated PG-13 by the Motion Picture Association of America for extended sequences of violence and action and some suggestive references. Okay, next up is Green Book. And Green Book is from DreamWorks. It is a comedy drama, and it actually, this they've been showing this trailer for a few months now, and I think this film looks really good. So it tells the story, and this is based on a true story of a world-class pianist named Don Shirley. Don Shirley was African American. In the film, he's played by Mahershala Ali, and I'm hoping I'm saying his name right. And he is about to go on a concert tour of the Deep South, and it's in 1962. And he's in need of a driver and protection in order to do this. And so he recruits a bouncer from an Italian-American neighborhood in the Bronx named Tony. And Tony's played by the actor Viggo Mortensen. And so these two men are driving around on this concert tour in the southern U.S., and they develop an unexpected bond while confronting racism and danger in an era of segregation. I think it's interesting to know that this title, Green Book, is a reference to a title of a book called The Negro Motorist Green Book, which was a guidebook published by an African American named Victor Hugo Green. Green wrote this book. He kept this book updated. It was published annually from 1936 to 1966. During this era of Jim Crow laws, when discrimination was widespread, and as the African American middle class was rising, and then they were getting cars and taking trips. Still, though, they would encounter a lot of dangers and and inconveniences along their way, and so this guidebook was written specifically to promote or to talk share services and places that were friendly to African Americans, and so anyway, we'll see in the film how that all plays out, but that's where the title comes from. So Green Book is rated PG-13 by the Motion Picture Association of America for thematic content, language including racial epithets, smoking, some violence, and suggestive material. I'm excited to see Green Book. So next up is Creed 2. So we've got another sequel in the Rocky saga. So hopefully you all saw Creed, which came out in 2015, which was really, I thought, a really cool sports movie. But it was about the illegitimate son of Apollo Creed, the boxing, the character in the early Rocky movies, and Sylvester Stallone was in it playing Rocky again. But it was told it really was a stylish and well-crafted film because it was written and directed by Ryan Coogler, who then went on to direct Black Panther, Marvel's Black Panther, which came out earlier this year. But sadly, Ryan Coogler's not back for this round. It's directed by Stephen Caple Jr., but it was written by Sylvester Stallone. So anyway, if you haven't been keeping track of the Rocky saga, let me see if I can get you caught up a little bit without giving too much detail. But as you may recall, in 1985's Rocky IV, the big bad dude was this Russian boxer named Ivan Drago. who was played by Dolph Lundgren, who was just that massive blonde-haired dude. Drago killed Apollo Creed in an exhibition match. And so that movie kind of puts Rocky has to avenge this. And so he then trains super hard and is able to beat Drago, at the end of the movie. So anyway, Drago now, it's many years later. Drago's got a son he's now trained to be a boxer. So now Adonis Creed, who's played again in the film by Michael B. Jordan, he's got to fight the son of Ivan Drago. So his name is Victor, Viktor, because they're Russian. So anyway, Drago's hoping to reclaim his honor for losing to Rocky through his son. So, and then it sounds like there's going to be all sorts of other drama in Adonis's life, and they'll be questioning what's worth fighting for, and discovering that nothing's more important than family. So, Creed 2 was rated PG-13 for sports, action, violence, language, and a scene of sensuality. And of course, I'm going to go, but we'll see if it's up there with Creed, or if this is just going to be kind of one of those Rocky sequels that are kind of fun, but then kind of not that great. So, to recap, these 5 films opening up Thanksgiving weekend, we've got The Favorite, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Robin Hood, Green Book, and Creed 2. All right, so for the review section this week, really the only new film that I've had the chance to see so far is Ralph Breaks the Internet. And as I mentioned, this is a sequel to Disney Animation's 2012 animated feature Wreck-It Ralph. And the film basically picks up 6 years after that story ends. Now, as you may recall, Ralph in the original film was going through somewhat of an existential crisis because he was the bad guy in his video game and wasn't sure he wanted to be the bad guy anymore. So he ventures out in this arcade world that's just so wonderfully set up in that film, where after hours, these video game characters can basically hop from game to game or interact with each other. But Ralph ends up meeting and befriending a little girl who's a race car driver in a game called Sugar Rush, and this character's name is Vanellope von Schweetz. And so he and Vanellope become buddies, and they go through a rocky time, in that first film, but they end up being good friends. So this film picks up, as I mentioned, 6 years after, and Ralph and Vanellope, they're just best friends. So every night after the arcade closes, they've got kind of a set routine where they'll meet up, they'll go get a root beer at Tapper's, at the Tapper game, and maybe do some game hopping, just depending on what they're in the mood for, and then they just talk and just do things what you just do with your friends. And so Ralph, actually, rather than the somewhat discontented Ralph we saw in the original film, Ralph is now quite content. He's doing his game, and he's still and then every night he's just really happy that he gets to hang out with his best friend, and there they go. Now Vanellope has got a little bit of a different thing going on with her. she actually is feeling some what I like to call divine discontent. She is, I mean, Ralph's great and she's aced her game and things are really good, but she's wondering if there might not be something more to life. So that sets up the kind of the basic premise of the film, as you've seen in the previews. The game, Sugar Rush game, breaks, and in order they can get a part to fix the game on eBay, but it sounds like Mr. Litwack, who's the owner of the arcade, might just unplug the game and sell it off for parts. So that really causes a lot of havoc, behind the scenes in the arcade, and there at that Grand Central Station where everybody kind of intersects there at that power, at the power strip where all the games are plugged in. So also new though is Mr. Litwack has connected to the internet, and so Ralph and Vanellope decide that they are going to venture out into the internet to try to find this eBay and get this part to fix the game. So what sets off is this really fun and funny adventure as Ralph and Vanellope, these two video game characters, go into really what's like the big city of the internet. The arcade could be compared to like the small town, and then these characters are kind of thrust into the big city, and you've got this. That's where a lot of the conflict comes from. I got to tell you though, and just a big shout out to the creative folks at Disney. The internet they've created or interpreted is just so much fun. I think you'll all be really impressed and just find a lot of entertainment out how they have visually interpreted how humans interact with the internet, how data gets transferred around, how emails get transferred around, and tweets and all these different websites are basically like a building, different buildings in this quote unquote city of the internet. And so Ralph and Vanellope go around, and there's Facebook and Snapchat and again I mentioned Twitter and Google and that's just at Pinterest. It's all just done in really good fun and good form. I think one of my concerns with some of these, not necessarily was I concerned, but one of the things I was wondering about in seeing the early trailers and some of this concept art was all the product placement for these different websites. Everything from eBay to Facebook to Google and Amazon is in there too, and et cetera, et cetera. But I think actually it really works because it just gives you instantly a sense of place, because we all go to these websites, right? And we know what they do there. So then it's kind of fun to see how these artists have interpreted it for the storytelling in the film. I just found it just fun and funny. So I'll be interested to hear what you all think too. I hope you enjoy it. The storyline with Ralph and Vanellope, I thought was handled really well. Again, it doesn't get too maudlin. It doesn't get too stupid. But it just shows again these different trajectories that these two friends are on. Yet again, the artistry that's done, at Walt Disney Animation Studios is just top notch. The animation is so beautiful and technically wonderful, and wonderful just to see a really great, fun, original story put on the screen. So even though it's a sequel, it's still I felt a very original story, and I also think this was a better film than the original Wreck-It Ralph. which, I enjoy the original Wreck-It Ralph, but I just think that this one takes it up a notch, and it's just a more entertaining, more enjoyable film. So take your families, enjoy Ralph Breaks the Internet, and just go have some fun, and please make sure to stay through the end credits. You need to stay till the very end. I think you'll be rewarded, because that's funny too. All right, in our classic cinema corner this week, we've got a great opportunity to see the 1978 film version of Superman on the big screen. Superman was directed by Richard Donner, and this was the original film that starred Christopher Reeve as Clark Kent / Superman. Marlon Brando's in it. Margot Kidder, Gene Hackman, and a fantastic soundtrack by John Williams. So I remember loving this movie as a kid, and I'm excited to revisit it again on the big screen. Also playing with it is and this is the 40th anniversary, by the way. That's what they're celebrating, is the 40th anniversary of this film. This is also going to include a Max Fleischer Superman cartoon from 1941. Now, Max Fleischer was an animator and a real innovator in Hollywood, and he made 17 Superman films for Paramount Pictures at the time. Again, Superman animated shorts. So they have a very distinctive style. Max Fleischer was the one who created the rotoscope machine, which would help them trace human figures to help both bring more lifelike animation to the screen, as well as, I think, just ease the process for the artists. And so you can really sense that when you look at one of these Max Fleischer Superman cartoons. But I'm excited to see it on the big screen. I'm not sure if I ever have. I've only seen them on TV. This particular one is from 1941, and it's called The Mechanical Monsters. So Superman, Richard Donner's Superman, and then the bonus animated short, they are coming to theaters on November 25th, November 27th, and December 3rd. So for more information and to find out what specific theaters this will be screened at, go to fathomevents.com. Again, that's Superman on November 25th, November 27th, and December 3rd. All right, well, thanks again for tuning in. I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Hope you have a wonderful time with your loved ones, and go have fun at the movies, and look forward to talking with you next week. Thanks.